Today's 7-1 notes, they are not in your book. You'll have a note sheet. You'll see a lot of blank space on the first page where it says Part 1, GSP activity. GSP stands for Geometer Sketchpad. It's just a program I have on my computer that I'm going to use to teach you the lesson. So in a second here, I'm going to show you a 7-minute video of me explaining some things. You don't need to write anything down for the whole 7 minutes. Once that time is up, I will tell you what to write and we will take some notes together. So for right now, just go ahead and listen to this video. So now we're going to go ahead and take some notes. So we're going to kind of summarize what I just talked about. So on your note page, let's go ahead and make a drawing. So draw 2 lines. They don't have to be parallel. And then draw a transversal. They don't have to be different colors. That's fine. And then let's label these. Make sure you label them in the same order I do so that we're talking about the same angles. So much like the video, there are 4 angles, 4 at the top and then 4 more at the bottom, making 8 angles. There are 4 relationship pairs. So let's go ahead and write them down. Again, in any order. So let's start with alternate exterior. Alternate exterior. So outside. So remember, this is inside. It's like the river. So outside. So 1 and alternating the other side of the red line will be 1 and 7. So I'm going to put 1 and angle 7. Also 2 and 8 are alternate exterior. So there's another pair with that same name. Okay, the next pair, let's go with alternate interior. So look on the inside, pick anyone on the inside you want. So let's say I start with 4. What is alternate interior with 4? Alternating sides, so on this side of the red line, also on the inside, 6. Angle 4 and angle 6. And then also angle 3 and angle 5. Remember, we always pick 1 angle from these 4 and 1 angle from these bottom 4. The next relationship name we'll go with corresponding. This is like the same corresponding seat or position. So angle 1 is in the top left and angle 5 is in the top left. So those are corresponding. Angle 2 is in the top right, 6 is in the top right. Keep going. Angle 3 is corresponding with angle 7. And finally, 4 and 8 are corresponding. There's actually 4 pair of corresponding angles. And the last one is called same side interior. Or same side interior angles. So pick an angle on the inside, maybe with 4. What's on the same side as 4? 5. 4 and 5 are on the same side of this red line, which we call a transversal. They're both on the inside. So those are same side interior. And then there's another pair, 3 and 6 are same side interior. Now, remember, when these green lines are parallel, let me see if I can do all of this over. If the green lines are parallel, something special happens. So over here, I'm going to put if parallel. This is the symbol for parallel, kind of like 2 lines that look parallel. If parallel, remember, alternate interior, so 1 and 7, not only are they going to be called alternate interior, but they're going to be the exact same measure, which we call congruent. So you're going to write congruent. If the lines are parallel, 1 and 7 are congruent, 2 and 8 are congruent. Now, not all 4 of them are alike, but 1 and 7 are congruent. 2 and 8 are congruent. Alternate interior, so that's like 4 and 6. If the lines are parallel, those pairs will also be congruent. Maybe I'll put 2 little ones, you know. I can do the same thing up here. You can go back and watch the video if you're not sure what I'm talking about with them being the same number when the lines are parallel. Corresponding are also congruent. So if I get these green lines to be parallel, this is also the symbol for parallel, little arrows on them. 1 will be congruent to 5, 2 will be congruent to 6, 3 congruent to 7, 4 congruent to 8, and so on. And as I mentioned in the video, this bottom one is the most different. So maybe you want to put a star here. Same side supplementary. We've studied supplementary before. That means they add to 180. So if you look in the picture, we're talking about 4 and 5. 4 and 5, if the lines are parallel, will not be the same number. They will be supplementary. They will add to 180. So don't put 4 will not be congruent to 5. Let's put measure of angle 4 plus measure of angle 5 equals 180, because that's what supplementary means. Same for 3 and 6. Those will be supplementary. They will add to 180. This is a huge part of the lesson, knowing the names of the pairings. And then one step further, if the lines happen to be parallel, what will happen with those specific pairs of angles? All right, if you don't have colors, that's fine, but if you do, this is helpful for some. Complete the following on the picture to the right. Shade the exterior blue. That's the exterior, the outside of the river. Shade the interior part orange. I'm going to go with red because that's the closest I have to orange. This is inside the river. That's what we mean when we're talking interior, exterior. Okay. This next part we kind of already summarized on the front. So I think we're going to, I'll talk about it, but you don't have to write it down. It says corresponding angles postulate. If 2 lines are parallel, if 2 parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then what do we know about corresponding? Corresponding are congruent. This one and this one will be alike. So I gave them the same mark. I could mark them like this if I wanted to. I could give them 2 marks or 3 marks, whatever I wanted to. I just have to mark those angles alike. The next one, alternate interior angle theorem. If 2 parallel lines are cut by a transversal, so same thing, then alternate interior are congruent. So if I pick this interior, oops, it's so small. Let's see if I can make it smaller. This interior and this interior are alike, so I mark those the same. Again, there is another pair also that is alike, so this one over here will match this one over there. Alternate exterior, so if I have, again, these parallel lines cut by a transversal, alternate exterior are congruent. So this exterior matches this exterior, and this exterior, which I'll do a double arc since I've already used a single arc, will match this one here. And finally, the one that is most different, same side interior, same side interior are supplementary. There's not really a symbol for supplementary. Sorry, that's messy. Supplementary. The best way to draw it is to say, I'll just call it 3 and 4. Angle 3 plus angle 4 equals 180. That's the best way to draw it since you can't mark them the same because they're not the same. That's a summary of what we just did on this part right here. Okay, so pause the video and go through these. All right, your answers. Identify all pairs of angles with the given type. So corresponding, same corresponding seat. So I'm just going to say the answers instead of writing them. 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 3 and 7, 4 and 8. Those are corresponding. There are 4 pair. Alternate interior, 4 and 6, 3 and 5. Alternate exterior, 2 and 8, 1 and 7. Same side interior, 4 and 5, 3 and 6. Number 5, name 3 pair of supplementary angles. Remember from the video, I talked about some things we learned a while ago, how angle 1 added to angle 2. Look what happens when I add these angles together. See how they make this straight line here? Those are what we call a linear pair, a pair that forms a line. So angle 1 and angle 2 are supplementary. Or you could go with angle 2 and angle 3. There's a whole bunch of them. There's more. You could go with 8 and 7. That's not new for today. Some of you might be thinking, can I go with 4 and 5? Because they're same side interior supplementary. Well, only if we know these lines are parallel. They look parallel, but it hasn't been stated that they are. So we're not too sure. So I would go with the ones we know for sure, which are these linear pair. Number 6, name 3 pairs of vertical angles. That's a review, not new information. Vertical would be 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 5 and 7, 6 and 8. So there are 4 pairs there. That will definitely be on a quiz or test. Okay, now let's get to a proof. It says, given G is parallel to H, so this symbol here means parallel. You'll also see it drawn in the picture like that. That means parallel. We also know angle 3 is 60. And angle 6 is 3x plus 15. So go ahead and start by labeling your picture and by writing the given. If you like lines, that's fine. You can draw a line like we've had in our other notes. Now, how are we going to figure out what x is? So what do we know about the relationship between these two things, about angle 3 and 6? Do we know anything? Are they called anything? Yeah, they are called alternate interior angles. And because the lines are parallel, we know that those are going to be congruent. Here's how we write that. Angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. How did we know 3 was congruent to 6? Because they're alternate interior angles. Now let's do some substituting. So you can change your congruent to equals anytime you want. That means the same thing. Congruent means equal. And instead of angle 3, look, you can substitute a 60 in there for angle 3. Instead of angle 6, you can substitute this because that's what angle 6 is equal to. Remember, we just call that substitution. Now let's just do some basic algebra here. Let's subtract 15 on both sides. Remember, if you're going to show your work, which is fine, you need to do it very small and very neat, and it's not considered an extra step. So if I were going to show my work, I might do this. Minus 15 on this side, minus 15 on this side, which leads me to my next step, 45 equals 3x. And what do I write? What did I just do from step 3 to 4? I subtracted on both sides. So subtraction, POE. Almost done. Divide both sides by 3. Since we did it on both sides to preserve equality, division, POE. And we know we're done. It says 15 equals x. That's what we're trying to prove, so we know that we're done. Okay. Each proof that you do, which is similar to this, is going to start with, obviously, the given and then the relationship pair. From there, the rest of it is usually algebra. So the given, and then what angles you have and what kind of relationship they have. Are they congruent? Are they supplementary, etc.? Let's try the next one. Here we have A and B are parallel, C and D are parallel. Notice there's no numbers in this one, no algebra, I should say. There's numbers labeled 1, 2, and 3. So let's go ahead and look at just this first given and see what that kind of tells us. So A and B are parallel. What numbers do we want to talk about there out of the 1, the 2, and the 3? Well, we want to talk about one that is on A and one that is on B. So let me draw this transversal here. You notice I picked this transversal because there's 2 numbers over here, as opposed to this transversal D where there's only 1 number. So because these 2 lines are parallel, what do we know about 1 and 3? What are they called? Alternate interior angles. And since they're alternate interiors and the lines are parallel, we know those are congruent or equal measure. I'm going to erase some of these lines so I can draw some more. Always good to use pencil in your notes. Now let's look at what this is trying to tell us. C parallel to D. So I'm going to highlight C and D. Those are parallel, and I'm going to pick a transversal. Would it be better to pick transversal A? Oh, that was bad. A or B? Which one has more information on it? A does. A has angle 1 and 2. What do we know about 1 and 2? What are they called? They are called corresponding. Look where they're at. They're in the bottom left. One's in bottom left, two's in bottom left. So, corresponding. 1 congruent to 2. Now, here's we're going to use something from a couple days ago. We're going to use what's called the transitive property. Here's what the transitive property says. You don't need to write this if you don't want to. If A equals B and B equals C, then blank. Well, if B matches A and B matches C, doesn't that mean A has to match C? That's a transitive property, and we have that happening here. So take a look. I always have students circle it. So I say circle angle 1, it's the same as 3. Circle angle 1, it's also the same as 2. So what does that really mean? If they're all alike, that means 2 and 3 are alike or congruent. It's called transitive property. This is a hard one. You won't have a lot like this. You'll have more questions like the last proof, but this is a good one too to get you thinking. I believe that was the last one. So go ahead and start your homework. Remember, try your best. If it's difficult, just try to do each one, complete each one, and then check your work.